The Eagles stink already. They're the worst team in football. Fire Howie Roseman into the sunset. Guys, do we really have to have this conversation again? Really? Really? Relax. Trending in the AM will save you, and it starts in 30 seconds.
Holding gets around in front. Joel Embiid and Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Do me that favor. Hit the like and the subscribe button on the DSM Media YouTube page. Best place to get interactive with the show. Drop your comments, your thoughts on the Eagles. We will also talk a little Sixers today. I'm a little slow on all the sharing and getting everything up on my screen here, so bear with me here for a second as we get started here. Guys, NFL free agency has begun. Don't give me any of that. It hasn't begun. It has begun. I know tomorrow. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is the official start of free agency. But we all know that legal tampering begins, and legal tampering this, and it's the new cool term in football. Guys, free agency began literally 2 weeks ago. I don't care what you say. You can't tell me that, these deals got done in 20 minutes yesterday when the legal tampering period began, and you negotiated a $90 million contract, a $100 million contract in 10 minutes. Man, there are so many backroom deals done in football, and I love it. I love that football does not worry about tampering much at all. I love that NFL just lets them do whatever. The season never ends as a GM or for anybody in football. It is straight just keep rolling right from the Super Bowl right into the next season and everything. And I love it. I live for it. But guys, if you think that the NFL season for the Eagles next year is over because they lost the first day of tampering, if that's really what you think, just sign off this show right now. I don't think I've ever told anybody to sign off a show and not watch, because you're going to hate this show and this episode of Trending the AM right here on DSM Media if that's what you think. It's pathetic. The amount of people that are out there bashing and crushing the Eagles, fire Howie Roseman, this and that. The new band name on this list, I will not say his name. He is a silly man. I will not share his stuff anymore. I will not quote tweet him anymore. I will not mention his name. Out there saying that as of yesterday, the Eagles are no longer playoff team based off of how yesterday went. Now, obviously, he's meaning that it could change if they do something, but good morning. But anybody that listens to him and believes that the Eagles are still not a playoff team, first and foremost, beside the point of the players they lost yesterday. Anybody that thinks that they're not a playoff team with Jalen Hurts at the helm and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and the newly re-signed for one more year, Jason Kelce, you're insane. Every one of these free agents have suitable – absolutely. And we're going to get into them all as this show goes on. But let me ask you something, Mark. Whoever wins the Super Bowl on the first day of free agency, let me tell you something. I have last year's free agency list up here and the deals that were signed. J.C. Jackson, Chargers, signed $82 million deal to be a cornerback there. Chargers do anything special? Barely made the playoffs. Got blown out by the Chargers. Miami, huge deal to left tackle, Teron Armstead. Pretty sure that, what's his name, Tua, got knocked out. Huge deal to Christian Kirk last year. That really didn't help the Jags much. Free safety, Marcus Williams. Everyone wanted him in Philly. Signed a huge deal in Baltimore. They didn't make the playoffs. Chandler Jones, big deal. He was the biggest defensive end sign. Well, Von Miller was, but Chandler Jones. Raiders stunk. Rams, Bobby Wagner, they've already gotten rid of him. Von Miller might have helped Buffalo if he didn't get hurt. But all these deals, nobody won the Super Bowl on the first day of free agency. Nobody last year. Everybody gives out these big contracts on the first day. And they all struggled. Everybody that gave up big contracts yesterday, are they automatically Super Bowl title contenders? No. You got to have a good organization. You have to have a good leader. You have to have a good coach, a good quarterback. You have to have pieces in place still for this to work out. It's insane. It's insane the overreaction that is done. That dude caught the mute. I know. We're not mentioning him. What's up, Mitch? How you doing? We're trying to calm everyone down after yesterday. So let's look at some of the deals that went down yesterday. Obviously, so Denver signed Mike, I don't even know how to say his name, McGlinchey, right tackle, to help protect Russell Wilson. $87 million deal. Think that's going to help? We'll get to the Hargrave deal in a second. Jawan Taylor, Kansas City, they gave a right tackle $80 million. Jimmy Garoppolo, $72 million to go to the Raiders. I see people asking on social media, are the Raiders this great juggernaut of an offense next year now? Because they got Devontae Adams and they've got Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller. Dude, Derek Carr's a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. You think you're upgrading? You're staying the same at best, if not dropping. So don't give me that. That's boneheaded to me. I mean, I get they're probably trying to draft the guy and use Jimmy G to bridge. Tremaine Edmonds got a huge deal with Chicago. Chicago spent literally like $100 million on linebackers yesterday. Is that going to all of a sudden make Justin Fields a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? Is that automatically going to make that offense unstoppable? No. The Bears aren't going to make the playoffs next year. I strongly disagree with this. Strongly. Derek Carr is one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks. Derek Carr's in that 10 to 12 range. Jimmy Garoppolo's in that. It's close. It's closer than I'm saying. But Carr's a way better quarterback. Maybe not as much success. Let's see. I'm back on 2012 here. Zach Allen. Everybody wanted Zach Allen. After we lost all these players in free agency, Zach Allen, he signed a near $50 million deal to go to Denver. I bet you 97% of Eagles fans had no idea who Allen was before 5 o'clock last night when a couple big names started tweeting out that the Eagles might have interest in him. Everybody had to do some Google searching. Nobody knew who he was. But yet we lost out. We lost free agency because we didn't sign him to a big deal. I mean, look at some of these deals. Tampa, let's see. Jamal Dean, he went. Cleveland gave a defensive tackle, Dalvin Tomlinson, $60 million. Guys, relax. That is what I could say the most. None of these teams, outside of the 49ers who got Javon Hargrave, none of these teams are going to make a push for the Super Bowl because of the moves they made yesterday. Moves that shouldn't have been made because it's technically not free agency yet. But seriously, guys, let's relax. Let's enjoy this ride. We were literally just in the Super Bowl 4 weeks ago. Here, let me bring up a tweet from that I shared yesterday. Kazir White was signed on March 21st, a week into free agency. A.J. Brown was brought in on the trade on April 28th on draft night. James Bradbury was not signed in Philly till May 13th. The Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade happened on August 30th. No team builds a Super Bowl roster on March 13th and 14th. It's a process. Not to use that cliche term. It is a massive process. And it's a process that starts before the season. It starts with what you've done the years before. Do you have a good organization in place? Do you have good coaches? A GM that understands what his roster is? Building draft capital. There's so much that goes into building a roster. Just overspending on the first day of free agency, like the Bears yesterday, $100 million on linebackers. That's not winning you a Super Bowl. Hell, that's not even getting you to the Super Bowl. That might not even make you to the playoffs. Make you a little bit better, sure. Maybe not as embarrassing, but it doesn't win you anything. The teams that spend hundreds of millions of dollars the first day, big splashes, they're not thinking about building a team. They're just, where can we spend our money on the highest, to steal them from other teams? Let's look at this Javon Hargrave, because obviously Javon Hargrave was the first shoe to fall with the Eagles yesterday. He signed with the San Francisco 49ers for $84 million over 4 years. Look, I love Javon Hargrave. He's 30 years old. He'll be 31 next season. He was critical last year's team, the last couple of years of the rebirth of this team. He signed a few years back for like a 3-year, I think it was like $30 million deal to come to Philly from Pittsburgh. He wasn't the big name he was then. You signed the guy on the ascension to a respectable contract. Now he's leaving and getting a big payday in San Francisco. I know a lot of people are freaking out because he left for San Francisco. And, San Francisco did so much trash talking in the championship game and after they lost to us and didn't make the Super Bowl. I was like, oh, he's a traitor going with the San Francisco. Whatever. The guy got paid a big payday. He came here. He made his name. You can't fault him for that. When San Francisco is actually a pretty legit team outside of their quarterback situation. So the question is, did you really want the Eagles to give a 31-year-old guy a 4-year, $84 million deal? When you just traded up last year in the draft to get Jordan Davis. The year before, you picked up Milton Williams, 2 guys that have been getting groomed to take over for Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. This is the process that I'm talking about. You spend 2 years drafting and developing guys so that when a guy like Javon Hargrave gets to his peak and is a little bit older, he can get his big bag, but he can go. That's what you do when you're building a winning organization. You find the Javon Hargrave before the Javon Hargrave, which is what Howie did, check mark there. Then you draft his replacements, check mark there. Then you let him go. Because there is the people that say the salary cap in football is fake. No, it's not. Now, there's ways to maneuver it and manipulate it a little bit. Sure, bonuses, stretching out money, kicking it down the can, yes. But it's still there. You can't sign everybody. And letting Javon Hargrave walk for $84 million was a no-brainer move. Yeah, well, he might have similar production next year, but over the course of a 4-year deal, there's no way he's going to stay at that level for 4 years. He might not stay at that level for 3 years, barely 2. So they're paying for what they saw last year. And that's always a big deal. It happens all the time in sports. You get knocked out of the playoffs. So you go to the team's free agents that knocked you out of the playoffs, and you overpay for one of them. Happens a lot more than we realize in sports. But you let Hargrave walk. And you do it with no hesitation. Out of all the free agents we had, all of them, the one that I was 100% sure was going to leave was Javon Hargrave. And that's fine. This is what Jordan Davis was brought here for. This is what we've seen glimpses of Milton Williams in the last couple years. That guy, actually, no offense to Jordan Davis meant, because Jordan Davis didn't play a lot last year. He got hurt. He, didn't really play much after his injury because they brought in Linville Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. Milton Williams is more ready to step in than people realize. He's more ready than Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is a freak athlete, freak talent that might be one of the most dominating guys someday in the NFL. But Milton Williams is ready. I've seen enough of him to know he's ready. So relax here. You're going to sign some guys at the back end of free agency for depth on that defensive line. Sure. But your starting D tackles next year are Jordan Davis and Milton Williams. And Milton Williams is ready. Epps was the only player you could argue they should have seriously considered to bring back. I'm not a Marcus Epps fan. I mean, he's a good player. But you're not going to break the bank. You're not going to outbid somebody on Marcus Epps. I know his deal doesn't sound like a lot, but all the deals that went to safeties yesterday, there was a lot of deals that went to safeties. They all went for about their projected market value. Whoever determines that, I have no idea. But Marcus Epps, he's a nice player. He's youngish. He's 27, I think. I mean, you don't break the bank to bring him back. If he, I forget what did he get, 2 years, $12 million, I believe. So you offer him 2 years, 11, 12, whatever. Reed Blankenship, everybody. First off, you lose an Epps. Maybe you lose Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We'll get into Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in a minute. But everybody was so hyped. Let's get Reed Blankenship to make the team last year. He makes the team. Performs well on special teams. Comes in, fills in admirably when, There's injuries in your secondary. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, Reed Blankenship sucks. We can't go into the season with him. Make up your mind, people. Letting Epps go is fine if you have confidence in Reed Blankenship. And look, I'm not going to jump the gun and say Reed Blankenship's this great player, but again, it's getting the guys on the ascension so that then they can cash out in free agency later on, and you don't have to pay them that big deal. If that's the case, then Reed Blankenship's your guy going forward. He didn't do an awful job. Now, Reed Blankenship, I will say, makes more sense here in Philadelphia as long as you retain Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Now, letting Hargrave go, letting Marcus Epps go, letting TJ Edwards go. Like I said, the Chicago Bears spent a boatload of money on linebackers. TJ Edwards is gone. You drafted Nakobe Dean to fill in for either Kazir White or TJ Edwards. People were calling for him to start, me included, last year. Why can't he see the field? Guys, I know everybody thinks TJ Edwards and Kazir White were these great linebackers last year. They were decent. They had a great start to the season, but if you really look the eye test, they kind of tapered off as the year went on. They were good, but they were not great. Trust me, they weren't. Everybody couldn't wait to see Nakobe Dean. Now Nakobe Dean is going to be stepped up and have to ask to start. Now all of a sudden everybody says he's not good enough because we lost in free agency yesterday, TJ Edwards. Again, make up your mind, people. The people that are saying we lost Edwards, Epps, and Hargrave. Fire Howie Roseman. You're an idiot. Come on. You can't sign everybody. He's been drafting the replacements for years now on these guys. And we're gonna freak out. Nakobe Dean is ready. Nakobe Dean, everyone said, should have been a first-round talent last year, but there were concerns about his injuries. Well, he barely played last year, other than special teams and that half a game when Kazir White was hurt. Well, he should be healthy now. And if he's as good as people projected him to be, he is going to dominate on our defense. He's got speed. He's got the really, really high football IQ. Relax there, guys. It's not a big deal. Again, so you lose him, you lose Epps, whatever. But it all comes down on that defense. The more of these people you let go, the more money you kind of have available to retain Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, to retain James Bradbury. Now, all of a sudden, if today news breaks that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is staying in Philly, all of a sudden the Eagles stink and fire Howie Roseman talk stops instantly. And everyone's like, oh, Howie Roseman's a genius again. And I know sports fandom, sports talk, it dominates on overreaction. And yes, we host Overreaction Monday here, etc. But the off season, it's a process, and it drives me nuts when I see people punching at the wall saying we're awful because we lost X, Y, or Z player. Oh my God! Spam people jumping in the comments section trying to hype their sales. I can't even block them. What the hell? Anyway, you're distracting me from my show, and you're hyping. Stupid. Get out of here. Go. Guys, it's a relax and see here moment. Now, on the offensive side of the ball is actually where I'm most disappointed. Look, Jason Kelce announced yesterday, it's already a famous video, him and Howie Roseman hugging, doing shots together. That's great. Jason Kelce is back, and that's great for this team because he's a leader. He is still at 30, 35, 36, still one of the 2 or 3 best centers in football. Still had a fantastic season last year. Yes, you drafted Cam Jurgens, his replacement. You also drafted Landon Dickerson to be his replacement. Kelce decided to say, you slid Landon Dickerson over to guard. Guess what? You got one of the best left guards in football now. Now, everyone is assuming that Cam Jurgens is going to slide over to play the right guard position. Because obviously, based off some of the deals given out yesterday, there's no way Isaac Seumalo is in the budget to stay. You're going to have to lose Isaac Seumalo. He's going to get a $70, $80 million deal. Hold on, let me pull up this free agency. What was the other? You got a right tackle signed McGlinchey for $87 million yesterday. Jawan Taylor signed for $80 million. They were tackles. Ben Powers, a guard, signed with Denver for $51 million. He's better than Ben Powers. So you're looking at 60, 70, $80 million for Isaac Seumalo, arguably regarded one of the top 5 or 6 guards in football. So you're losing him. So everyone's assuming that Cam Jurgens is going to slide over because Jason Kelce's back. Look, I'm not assuming anything. We do have Jeff Stoutland, the best position coach in football, one of the best position coaches of all time in football. That there's no doubt about it. Just what he done with Jordan Mailata alone. Stellar. Turning Andre Dillard from bust to making, what did he sign yesterday for 3 years, $28 million with Tennessee? To me, losing Andre Dillard out of all 4 guys that we lost yesterday is possibly the biggest loss of them all. Because in my mind, I'm thinking maybe Andre Dillard needed to stay here. Now, I didn't think there would be a $28 million market for Andre Dillard. But if anything, that $28 million given to Andre Dillard by Tennessee is proof of what Jeff Stoutland does. Andre Dillard, his first year, everyone says he couldn't start here because of Jordan Mailata. Well, Jordan Mailata wouldn't have started here if Andre Dillard wasn't a bust at first. Let's understand that. Andre Dillard struggled at first, then had injury issues, and that gave Jordan Mailata the opportunity to start. And then Jordan Mailata never relinquished that opportunity. So let the conversation that Jordan Mailata was blocking Andre Dillard needs to slow down. Andre Dillard was blocked because of his own deficiencies at first, and then the injury that gave Jordan Mailata the opportunity. Okay, but Jordan Mailata wouldn't have been ready for that opportunity without Jeff Stoutland. Now Andre Dillard last year showed he was that backup left guard, left tackle when Dickerson would come out of a game for an injury, for some maintenance, whatever, because Dickerson always misses time. He would slide into that left guard. If Mailata needed to move or do anything, he would slide into left tackle. Jeff Stoutland worked wonders over the last 2 years with Andre Dillard, get his confidence back, help him learn a second position in guard. Losing Jordan Mailata, I was already preaching. If you could find a way to keep Andre Dillard on a cheap 1 or 2 year deal, I would have been 110% for it. I did not think there was going to be a $28 million market for Andre Dillard. But it just goes to show, like I said, the league has confidence in what Jeff Stoutland has done with Andre Dillard, with anybody that's in the Eagles offense. Look, nobody knew who Isaac Seumalo was before he became an Eagle. It's really simple. First and foremost, when you make a Super Bowl, teams are going to poach your free agents. They want that winning culture on their team. Now, I'm not saying that Andre Dillard's going to be a stud left tackle for Tennessee, but he's going to improve their tackle. He's going to improve their position. And we'll see what happens, but I think that's going to be a big loss. And just to, like I said, to assume that because Kelce's back, that you're going to be able to slide Cam Jurgens to the right guard spot to replace Seumalo, it's assuming that he can do it. It's easier to go from center to guard than guard to center, sure. But I think also all this that's happened, not just on the line, goes to show what's going to happen with the draft. You got pick 10 and 30. If they pick at 10 and 30, I know everybody wants a cornerback at 10. I know everybody wants Bijan Robinson at 30. One of those two picks, if they select them, is going to be another offensive lineman because they're going to want to replace that depth. You're going to lose Seumalo. You're probably, lose. You already lost Dillard. You're probably losing Seumalo. You're going to have to replace that depth. They signed Brett Toth last night. Whoa, yay! That's not really a big deal. That's the instant overreaction there. But to be serious, Andre Dillard provided a lot of depth on this line. Lane Johnson misses time. Landon Dickerson leaves games regularly. Jordan Mailata's been banged up since his first big year. So you need that depth on the offensive line. And if you're going to teach Cam Jurgens right guard, well, now you need your backup center of the future again. So does Jack Driscoll play a bigger role? Probably, and he does a great job of being that swing tackle and fill in wherever the gaps are needed. But you need depth on that offensive line. You know that, I know that, we all know that. 2-3 years ago when we had like 17 different offensive line configurations to start games. You know how important it is. But that, to me, is the big loss yesterday, and that's Andre Dillard. Javon Hargrave, replaceable. We've already been working on that replacement. TJ Edwards, we've already been working on that replacement. Marcus Epps, dude, he's all right. I really think the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson situation works itself out. And since we're here, I'm just going to refresh Twitter. The first thing I said was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but no, that was just somebody hoping for it. Yeah, so nothing new has happened since the show started, which is fine. But I think the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson situation gets worked out. I think there's a want from both sides. Let me tell you something. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's troll game, his social media game, is on point. If you like Joel Embiid and the process and the troll, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, man, he's on point with it. I mean, he went to the Joel Embiid troll school. He's a graduate, top of his class in the process. He knows how to egg fans on, get his name on the top of the trending board all the time. Now, do you like it or not? I don't know. But it's entertaining as hell because every single thing he does draws an instant overreaction. Again, who even knew who Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was before he got traded to the Eagles last year? Very few people. He was a nickel cornerback that we were testing out as a safety. We crushed Howie last year. Oh, your big move is bringing in a guy that has never played a position? We nailed it. So even if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson walks today or tomorrow, I say today or tomorrow because technically free agency starts tomorrow. Even if he walks, have patience. Like I went over, and I'm going to read it off again. Let me pull this tweet up from yesterday. Don't forget, Kazir White did not come in until March 21st. A.J. Brown was not an Eagle until April 28th. James Bradbury was not an Eagle until May 13th. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was not an Eagle till August 30th. Have patience, people. That is the key. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is not Howie Roseman's first rodeo. It's not. He has built this draft. And honestly, who cares about the comp picks that we get? I mean, you're going to get a couple from losing these players. That helps down the line. They're not going to help this year. But with the moves that haven't been made, I think there's a very strong possibility that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson will be re-signed today, maybe tomorrow. I think there's even a slim possibility with the fact that they've lost these players that they're able to retain him and James Bradbury. You look at what the deals are. Again, like I said, people aren't spending like last year on cornerbacks and safeties. Let's see here. The biggest deal to a safety was Jesse Bates, 4 years, $64 million. It's about $16 million a year. Jesse Bates is a better safety than Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Absolutely. Always happens. These post-June 1st cuts, this is how you build a roster. And cheaply. Anyone going to disagree that Jesse Bates is a better quarterback than Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? I won't. I wanted him last year. I thought a second-round pick in Andre Dillard would have gotten it done. We didn't make that move. It's okay. We got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson instead. And that's why I wasn't overreacting to us not making that trade for Jesse Bates when he ended up signing his franchise tag after some disagreements there with Cincinnati. If Jesse Bates only got 4 years, $64 million, which was about $16 million a year, it was about where he was projected to get market value. Again, who comes up with these market values projections? I don't know. But they seem to be right because these safeties have all signed pretty much spot on. So if that's accurate, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was projected like 13.5. He's going to get only about 13.5. It's not like Jesse Bates was available. It's not like some team broke the bank to go get him. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 4 years, $50 million. Do the deal. 4 years, even 60. Stretch it a little bit. But I'm not stretching it past that. I'm not breaking the bank to retain Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Same thing with James Bradbury. Cornerback. Top cornerback deal yesterday. was Jamel Dean staying in Tampa for 4 years, $52 million. That's $13 million a year. Let's see what else cornerback wise. Cameron Sutton, a pretty solid cornerback, 3 years, $33 million to go to Detroit. Detroit spent so much money yesterday. $11 million a year, basically. That was it, basically, on the cornerback market. Jonathan Jones stayed in New England, 2 years, 19. The bank is not being broken as you would think on cornerbacks. I think Bradbury is predicted around 15 or 16 million. Maybe you can get him for 14. Can you spend $27, $28 million on Bradbury and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, bring them both back? It's possible. If it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. You knew this was going to happen, guys. Everybody knew that this scenario was a possibility. But yet everybody's overreacting. Everybody's ready to fire Howie. And literally, like I said, the name we will not mention ever again on this show or on my Twitter feed. I will just hint at the name. The name that we will not say says the Eagles are not going to be a playoff team because of the moves they did not make yesterday. Let me tell you something. You still got Jalen Hurts. You still got A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith, the best offensive line in football. Dallas Goedert. Guys, relax. Relax. We are not the worst team in football. Look around the NFL. Look at the moves that were made yesterday. Is anybody in the NFC? Obviously, Aaron Rodgers looks like he's going to the Jets. The only thing that concerns me right now in the NFC is two things. San Francisco, because they're still a damn good team. And two, if Lamar Jackson comes to an NFC team. Lamar Jackson is not staying in Baltimore. I don't know what's going on with that Lamar Jackson. I put out a poll. Let me see if I can find it because it was like 4 or 5 days ago. I don't even know where the results are on the poll. Who would you rather have? Lamar Jackson for 2 first-round picks, Aaron Rodgers for 1, or draft a top 10 quarterback this year? Let me see where the poll results are at this point. On page, and here it is. I got about 176 votes. Only 56% of the people chose Lamar Jackson over a rookie with the first pick in the draft. The top pick in the draft, Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. And only 56% of people said Lamar Jackson. It's crazy to me. Lamar Jackson's a top 6 or 7 quarterback in the NFL, maybe top 5. And I don't know what's going on in Baltimore. It's asinine. But does he go to Washington? That would break my heart because that would hurt. That would make the Commanders better. Does he go to someone else in the NFC? Tampa Bay? I don't know. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks in the NFC. That would be the problem. Yeah. Casey, anyway, it's stressed after day one. Relax. We do. We need to get younger and deeper. Discount deals and through the draft. I don't know about discount deals. I think the term discount deals offers a negative connotation. Smart deals. Finding the next Javon Hargrave or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or James Bradbury before they're ready to make $80 million a deal. It's to, we'll transition to the Sixers here in a few minutes, but I've been right and wrong on a lot of guys, and I always use this term with the Sixers back in the day. You had to find the next star before they were the star. And it popped up in my Facebook memory feeds before I was on Twitter. And it was the Sixers need to offer a max deal to restricted free agent Kawhi Leonard because he's going to become a superstar in this league. And everybody crushed me on Facebook saying that Kawhi Leonard was not worth a max deal. Now, I was right on that one. I was wrong. I said the same thing about CJ McCollum. But I was right on Kawhi. You got to find the star before they're the star. Smart deals. Exactly. Find the next star before they're the star. Pay them on their ascension instead of once they pay. Everybody in free agency pays for what they've seen before, not what they're going to do. Again, like Mark said, Casey, earlier in the show, Javon Hargrave isn't going to live up to $85 million. He's not. He's 31 years old. You're paying for past production. But we paid for Hargrave $30-something million for 3 years, and look what we got. That's what you need. You need Hargrave before he's Hargrave. You need Bradbury before he's Bradbury. You need Kawhi Leonard before he's Kawhi Leonard. That's what you need to do. You need to find the next guy. You got to be smart. You got to trust your evaluation process, your scouts, your eye test, the fact that you've been in this league for 20 years building teams. Trust what knowledge you've built. Pluck these guys now. But back on the Lamar Jackson thing, I mean, unless Lamar Jackson goes to an NFC team, which I'm trying to rattle my brain, who would even be able to offer 2 draft picks for him? Who would pay him? Washington would be the name that sticks out to me. Tampa, maybe. I don't know. Carolina, maybe. Those are the only teams that would scare me. That if they got Lamar Jackson, and San Francisco. And even San Francisco still has quarterback. Who did they sign yesterday? Sam Darnold? I don't know. I don't even know. They signed some backup quarterback. Backup quarterback's something. Everybody wants Jacoby Brissett to be the backup quarterback for the Eagles next year. Okay, sure. We lose out on him. It's not the end of the world. Jacoby Brissett's going to command a pretty penny to be a backup quarterback somewhere. If you see what the deals are, Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr and all these guys, relax. It's not the end of the world. You got to be smart. We do need to be younger. You've been building to this point. Last year, let's be honest. Let's backtrack a half a step here before free agency even started, before last year even started. The Eagles were not expecting to go on a Super Bowl run last year. We changed our coach. We changed our quarterback before 2021. It was a retool, not a rebuild, a retool. It was a process. 2021 slightly exceeded expectations. We made the playoffs, got blown out by the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. We retooled a little bit more last year. We didn't go out and sign big-name free agency outside of Hassan Reddick. We were restructuring the roster. The goal last year was to make the playoffs again, maybe win a playoff game. Now, we exceeded expectations. We got to the Super Bowl. That doesn't change the process of restructuring, getting this team younger, building with young pieces to build around Jalen Hurts so that this team is a contender year in and year out for the next 5 to 7 years, 10 years. That was the whole point. But because of the Super Bowl appearance, everybody's expectations have changed, and they want that Super Bowl appearance every year. Well, this year was still part of that process. Maybe 2023 or 2024 was when the Eagles organization really expected to be a regular Super Bowl contender. So we're not breaking the bank to just make an instant run again next year. It's still part of this big overall process of restructuring around Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and formulating this team the right way. With the exceeded expectations, yes. People's opinions have changed. But, hell, coming into this offseason, if we were talking last year, people were still talking about this year, these 2 first-round picks were going to be used to draft that next quarterback. This is almost like a bonus that we have these 2 first-round picks because everybody thought we were going to be looking at one of these quarterbacks, which, again, I don't follow college football like everybody else. I don't even start talking the draft till a week before on this show, maybe a week and a half before. But none of these quarterbacks in the draft this year. We have 2 first-round picks this year, and if it was up to us, they wouldn't be like, oh, man, I got to get up to the first overall pick to get one of these guys. They all have flaws in it. This is like the Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields class from a few years ago. There's talent there, but you're going to be reaching for a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys are going to go to teams that are bad, have extremely high expectations for them that they're not going to be able to instantly live up to. And either A, they're going to be considered busts right away and not given the chance to develop, or there are going to be busts. And that's the problem. I mean, look at the Jets. They were reached for Zach Wilson. And obviously the rumors were that Howie Roseman wanted Zach Wilson here in Philly. Couldn't get the deal to get him soon enough in the draft. He wasn't given, like, I'm not saying, I said when he went into the draft that he's not going to be that great, but he went to a bad Jets organization, wasn't given a chance to develop, and now they're going to most likely move on to Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he's given a chance to sit for the next 2 years behind Aaron Rodgers, and that solves the problem. But you give these quarterbacks that very few of them are Andrew Luck or Patrick Mahomes or look, Josh Allen took 2 years to develop to the superstar he is. Very few are Joe Burrow level in instant success in the NFL. Very few are Andrew Luck. Very few are, hell, even Peyton Manning won what? One game his rookie year. Troy Aikman won one game his rookie year. It takes time to develop quarterbacks. And in this current NFL landscape, when you draft a quarterback 1 overall, they're expected to start right away. They're expected to be really good right away. Normally, when you have the number 1 pick or number 5 pick in the draft, you're a pretty shitty team. So just drafting a quarterback doesn't solve the lack of defense, the lack of an offensive line, no weapons on offense. Excuse me. And these guys aren't like I always go back to Carson Palmer. He literally was taken number 1 all in the draft. Was it by the Bengals or the Bengals? And he literally held a clipboard for an entire year. And I remember back then, everyone used to say, play the kid. No. Coach Lewis was like, no, he is going to hold his clipboard and he's going to learn the entire season what it's like to be an NFL quarterback and an NFL player. Now, his career didn't turn out exactly as expected, but he turned into a really good quarterback. He had the ACL injury and some other issues health-wise. But it was the best for his career, not putting that undue pressure on him right from the get-go. And teams just don't do that anymore, and I don't expect them to. But that's the way it should be, probably. You know, I see a lot of these veteran quarterbacks moving around. The Raiders will probably draft their quarterback of the future. They signed Jimmy Garoppolo to a $70-some million contract. It's probably for the best. It's only a 3-year deal. You could probably get out of it in a year or two. But it gives whoever they draft the opportunity to just wait. Let them learn. From a quarterback who's average, who's mid, if that's the cool lingo now, if you're mid, I don't even know what that freaking means. But he can learn because he's won. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a great system leader. Plus, he obviously was with McDaniels in New England, so it'll be easy to pick up. Guys, relax. Let me refresh Twitter one more time. Here, see if anything's changed. It don't look like any news has happened in the last 20 minutes. So, yeah, it doesn't look like anything's changed. And it looks like, yeah, nothing's changed. No. The Eagles are still the Eagles. Howie Roseman's not going to get fired, guys. We're still going to win our division next year. We're still going to be one of the favorites to win the NFC next year. Guys, day 1 of legal tampering again, and I love it. Just call it what it is, because you're not obviously making these deals in 5 minutes. These deals have been getting worked on for 3 weeks now. It is what it is, and I love that the NFL lets it slide, unlike the NBA, who doesn't let a damn thing slide. Oh, guys, yesterday on Twitter, I was super busy. Dude, I went to bed last night at now side story. I went to bed at 9:30 last night. Not in bed watching TV, like in bed, lights out. I was up at 5:30 yesterday making pizzas for a big order. I was exhausted yesterday, and I didn't even look at my phone or Twitter till about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. And I was already exhausted. My body was already breaking down from the busy day at work. As I gotta say, fire Howie. The Eagles suck. The Eagles stink. They're not making the playoffs. This is what I got to see. Let's be better, people. We can be better than that. It doesn't take much. Just realize that it's a process. It's a marathon. It's chess. It's not checkers. It's not a 100-yard dash. These teams that I went over at the beginning of the show, these teams that spent big money last year in free agency, Chargers, spent the most money on a cornerback at $82 million. They didn't do anything. Miami, Jacksonville, Baltimore, the Raiders. These teams didn't even make the Rams again. These teams did not make the playoffs. Or if they did, they got knocked out early. The teams that are patient and plot their course properly and have a bigger picture vision, they're the teams that really win free agency. You don't just throw $200 million around free agency and instantly win a title. It's not baseball. There's no salary cap. That's it. I'm sure more things will happen today, and I'm sure tomorrow I'll have to tell you all to relax again. And I will. I will. All right, we're going to close out the free agency trackers here, and we're going to switch the the conversation a little bit here. Joel Embiid again won NBA Eastern Conference Player of the Week last week because of another great week of performances. And this weekend, the Sixers won 2 more games. 5-game winning streak again. Again, like I said, 1,000 times over. Relax. They're now 1 game behind the Celtics for the number 2 seed overall with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 games left on the docket. They're off again today, so we're not going to spend a lot of time talking. Tomorrow they got Cleveland tomorrow. Friday, Charlotte. Saturday, another back-to-back there with Indy. So they're getting a nice little 2-day rest here before they head on this 3-game. They actually got 7 out of the next 8 games on the road. Sixers schedule sucks with the road trip schedule this year and the way it's played out. Terrible. So many back-to-back, so many long breaks, so many awkward road trips and stuff like that. But whatever. Because this team is good. So you got Cleveland tonight, which is a great game, or tomorrow night, great game. But then you got Charlotte, Indy, back home and home against the Bulls. Then you go out west with some tough games. You got some easier games to close the schedule. But the whole point of this is to talk about Joel Embiid and what he did the last 2 games. First off, Friday night, that game in Portland, or against Portland here at home, we were just dominated the entire game. Complete and total dominated by that Portland Trailblazers team. Down after 1, down after 2, we were down 7. I think we were down like 15 at half. Still double digits going in the fourth quarter. And then they flipped their switch. And this is something that the Sixers have to stop doing. Thinking that they could just flip a switch, turn it around and win a game. James Harden had an off night shooting. But Joel Embiid, 39 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. What else is there to say about Joel Embiid? I mean, now they're starting to talk about changing the NBA voting rules for the awards, like MVP and stuff like that. That you have to play a minimum amount of games. Guys, remember, Jokic plays just as few games. He rests just as many. He's rested 10 or 11 times this year. So the Joel Embiid not playing games part of it, guys, I just don't get it. The guy is the most dominant big man that we've seen in a generation. One of the best players in the NBA. 39 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. And the game-winning shot against Portland with 1 second left on the clock. I just don't know what there is to say about him that hasn't already been said. I mean, it's just different this year with Joel Embiid. And this is the thing with Joel Embiid and the Sixers team. They've literally, for as much as we complain about this team, as much as we say fire Doc Rivers, this is a different team. Outside of the Celtics, they have beaten every good or great team in the NBA this year. As long as they don't have to face the Celtics, which we still have the Celtics in about 10 games on the schedule, as long as we can beat the Celtics, or don't have to play the Celtics, they'll get out of the second round. They'll be challenged when they face the Celtics in the playoffs, whenever that may be. Is that room for you to want to maybe try to beat the Bucks and get to the number 1 seed? Maybe then the Bucks and the Celtics fight it out in the second round, and you only have to face one of those teams. That would be nice. And then on Sunday, I'm trying to backtrack to the schedule again here. Sunday they played the Wizards and smoked them, as they should. I mean, Bradley Beal was held in check. Porzingis held in check. Embiid only had to play 31 minutes. He did not play the entire fourth quarter again, I believe. 34 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 4 blocks. Just listen to those numbers on Sunday. 34, 8, 4, 1, and 4 in 31 minutes. Hell, we got Jaden Springer minutes, Furkan minutes. Dwayne Dedman saw minutes on Sunday. That's how dominant they were on Sunday against the Washington Wizards. Look, the conversation is what it is with the Sixers. The storybook has been read, and we've talked about it 100 times over on this show. Until you beat the Celtics or get out of the second round, nobody's going to have confidence in this Sixers team. And I get it, and I understand it. And I to an extent, I feel the same way. But to totally write this team off because they haven't gotten past the second round is just not understanding that every year is different in the NBA. Every team is different every year in the NBA. I will say I was slightly concerned seeing Jalen Springer go out with an injury on Sunday. Finally get somebody with length and athleticism on this team. It looked like, I don't know if it was his hip or his back, but he banged with another body and went right to the locker room. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he doesn't miss any time. Because although he's not as good as the night a week or so ago when he started and put up 20 points, that's not what to expect out of him. That's not what you're going to get from him. He's not that guy. Maybe he is one day, but he's not that guy. But he is something, and that's better than what Matisse is. I mean, guys, everybody's hyping up Matisse and Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey. I've been tracking their numbers. Matisse isn't doing anything special. Portland's terrible. Did Matisse help win that game? No. Isaiah Joe, 2 of his last 3 games, he's a combined 2 of 17 from the field with like a minus 50. But because he has a couple games where he knocks down 3 out of 4 3-point shots, everybody freaks out. Charles Bassey was 8 and 6 his last game. I looked, 8.6 rebounds. He played 12 minutes and the Spurs lost by like 20. So, I will say I do have 2 fears, not just McDaniel's maybe injury. I fear that we always talk about, we've seen the story before with the Sixers team and Doc Rivers and second round exits. Dwayne Dedmon got in the game for the final 5 minutes on Sunday. Mop up duty. He actually didn't look awful. And we know Doc Rivers loves his veteran big men, backup big men. Refuses to play Paul Reed. And look, I am no Paul Reed super stan. He's good. He's getting confidence in a regular 10-minute playing role, coming in the 5 minutes that he has to each half. Backup Joel Embiid, 5-6 minutes each half. He's gaining confidence now that he has a consistent, regular set of minutes and knows exactly what his role is. But we know Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers better not give Paul Reed a DMP coach's decision any game coming up because he wants to play Dwayne Dedmon. Dwayne Dedmon made 1 bucket. I saw him make a step move and a little hook. I'm like, oh, jeez. There goes Paul Reed's minutes. Right out the window. And I hope if we go tomorrow night into Cleveland, it's in Cleveland, and Dwayne Dedmon doesn't play because it's a close game, maybe that's a sign that Doc Rivers has changed a little bit. Maybe his philosophies have changed a little bit. And I think we'll see. We'll learn a lot about that situation tomorrow night. Because, again, I don't want to see Dwayne. Dwayne Dedmon is still, to me, a wasted roster spot. Now, if he's got something left in the tank, you look at this schedule again. Let me pull up the Sixers schedule one more time here. You got a couple more back-to-backs. You got Cleveland, then you got Charlotte and Indy. Maybe you could give Joel Embiid one of these 3 road games off. Maybe when you got a Friday, Saturday, you got Golden State, Phoenix, Denver, 3 games in 4 days. Maybe give Joel Embiid one of those days off. Hopefully not Denver, because that's a Jokic night. Maybe down the stretch you got a back-to-back April 6th, April 7th, Miami, Atlanta. Maybe give them that April 7th Friday night game off. I mean, maybe you give them off the Brooklyn game on Sunday, April 9th, too, to close the season. Maybe you can give them 2 or 3 days off in these final 15. Save them for the playoffs if Dwayne Dedmon is any good. But I don't want to see Paul Reed's minutes go to Dwayne Dedmon. Dwayne Dedmon should be a DMP coach's decision in any close game and every playoff game at this point. And that is a Doc Rivers fear for me a little bit. But we'll talk more Sixers tomorrow. Tomorrow we do have my man Cole Thompson. He's former part of DSM. I still follow him. He does great work covering college basketball with his betting aspects. It is March Madness season. You know, the brackets were released Sunday night. I don't talk college basketball. I don't follow college basketball. I do know this is the first time in like 100 million years that not one big Philly 5 or City 6 team is in March Madness bracket. It's kind of a shame. Aaron McKee was fired from Temple. I don't know how good Temple or Villanova really were. I know they weren't good enough to make the brackets. That's it. But he's going to come on the show to talk a little bit about NCAA basketball tomorrow. Talk about these teams. Talk about the bracket. You know, I'm no expert, so I don't pretend to be one on TV. I did not stay at a Holiday Inn last night. So we're going to talk to Cole about that tomorrow. We'll talk some more Sixers tomorrow, more free agency talk. I wanted to talk about Nick Castellanos. We're running out of time here, so I'm just going to hint on it. I'm just going to kind of tease what I want to talk about at some point this week on the show. Is Nick Castellanos not good enough? Not good? Is he just bad at this point? Did we pay Nick Castellanos just like the 49ers paid Javon Hargrave money on past performances that he was never going to be able to live up to? Dude, I thought a Nick Castellanos bounce back season was for sure. And I know you don't take spring training stats to heart, but after the season he had last year, we needed to see something this year. And the first spring training game, he had a great home run. I was hyping up Nick Castellanos. I even bet him MVP. I mean, it was a long shot, like 100-1 or something like that. Maybe it was even higher than that. But I was like, why not? Because he's bound to have some positive regression I always talk about. Well, so far in spring, he looks completely lost. And something I feel like we kind of need to get into. What if he's a bust? What if he's lost? You're stuck with a big contract there. And this is the problem with paying free agents for past performances that they cannot live up to. And this is the whole thing with the NFL free agency. You don't overreact when you lose guys because you're paying for past performances. Big things happening this week here. You know, it is what it is. I'm just checking Twitter one more time to see if there's any more breaking news. Last week on Friday, so much breaking news happened. You know, it was crazy. I will say that I did put out a tweet this morning. I don't understand what's with people overreacting. Like, I saw a post that somebody, I'm not going to say their names, I'm not going to call people out because I don't call people out like that, bragging that Inside the Birds and Jeff Moser and all those guys blocked them because he called them out for bad information. What's with people macho-ness for getting blocked by people? I know Mark likes to brag that Reuben Frank blocked them. But if you're a big name like me, I'm trying to make a name for myself. This other podcast is trying to make a name for themselves on this in this content creation world. Why do people feel the need to force to get blocked, to brag about it? You're burning bridges. Be better. If you don't like the content that they're putting out and you think it's wrong, put out better content. Be better. Be smarter. Be the best. Instead, you get into these little tiffs on social media and you get blocked and you look like amateurs. And that's the way I feel about it. I try to be better. Bigger, better things coming here every single morning on Trending in the AM, the show that you need to be watching and you need to tell your friends to watch. Make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, turn notifications on. I greatly appreciate that. We are going to wrap up the show right there because the Eagles are the worst team in the world and free agency has officially begun in the NFL. Thank you for tuning in. I am Phil Stiefel. Make sure you shoot me a follow on Twitter. I'd greatly appreciate it. Everybody have a great Tuesday. It's cold as hell. It was snowing for like 30 seconds. But everybody have a great day. I'm Phil Stiefel for Trending the AM. We'll talk tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Have a great day.
And Philadelphia has it. Holding gets around and